Hey, Tone, I said this in the last segment. I just want your, comment as much as you can say or as much as you think. And I don't have the football knowledge part of it, but like yesterday, I watched good football, on the red zone and different teams, and I just see more offensively, I see more imagination, more imaginative. Even on runs, they look different. There's more movement. There's more fakes and twists and turns. I don't know if we don't do that. I don't see that from our team.
Well, I don't think that I would disagree with you from this standpoint,
okay.
Dan.
Mm-hmm.
I think what you see, especially when you're watching something like Red Zone,
right?
You see when it works.
Yeah, that's true.
And so when you see when it works, you're like, look how creative they are. If you look at that same exact play with all the creativity and it gets stuffed, like I'll give you a perfect example. I didn't watch the 1:00 games. I said I'm going to go play golf on my one day off.
Attaboy.
But I was watching the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
And they couldn't run it an inch against Green Bay.
Right.
I mean, they struggled.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing all the great same things they've done in the past.
Yep.
With all the creative genius of Shanahan. And it wasn't working. It wasn't looking super creative. And part of that is because I don't care how creative you get.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's good. You can, by alignment, you can create leverage, by motion, and you can help your players and put them in the best spot with the best play call against the best formation, against the best defensive front, based on the formation you play. But at the end of the day, you got to block them.
Right.
And so when you block them, all that creativity is like, wow, those guys are geniuses. Look how good that play call is. And there's some to that. There's good play callers, there's bad play callers. But I would disagree that the Jaguars don't do multiple formations and try to move people and try to, create angles and everything else. But then they got to block them, and the running back has to hit it, and you got to have a passing game to soften them up. I mean, everything comes together. It's not, and to me, and we've said on the show a bunch, It starts up front.
Right.
It starts with the line of scrimmage, and that includes the tight ends. It includes the receivers, the good running teams. You go look at the Detroit Lions. St. Brown is one of the best. He's a physical blocking receiver. That's how you get those big plays. And so I don't think it's a lack of creativity. I think it's a lack of execution. And I'm not taking it all off the coaches. I mean, when you're 2-9, everyone's got to do a better job.
Sure.
Doug, Press, Ryan Nielsen, the whole group. But I don't think it's a lack of creativity.
I remember when Brandon Allen was the future savior of the franchise at quarterback as a late-round draft pick. I remember that.
Can we just give Brandon Allen a shot?
That's right. I mean, Tom Brady was a sixth-rounder. I have a question for you, Tony, as I watch, and I'm joyfully doing it. I'm sorry. I don't want to be the guy that roots for someone to fail, but I had to watch C.J. Stroud tell me how awesome he was all offseason, and it got a little bit rich for my blood. So as he struggles here in year two and an 87 quarterback rating, 14 touchdowns, 9 picks, let's not mistake why the Texans are in the tank, because their guy has not been that difference maker that was, they all put him in Mahomes' class a year ago. So my question, though, outside of my anti-Texan sentiment, look, we always talk about the difficulty of a rookie coming into the league, but when a rookie comes in and has success, then the difficulty, it's like return to serve, right? Teams start to figure out what you struggle with or what to try and take away from you. And is that what happens sometimes with these young quarterbacks?
Absolutely, Jeff. We had the conversation on this show. I said, everyone take a deep breath about the Texans and anointing them as the greatest team because of the offseason with all the free agents, and C.J. Stroud's one of the greatest quarterbacks ever, blah, 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 blah. And I said, okay, slow down. One, they got a bunch of older guys, and one's already hurt, Stephon Diggs. You don't never want that. Two, you're exactly right. There's now a bunch of tape on C.J. Stroud, and defensive coordinators had a whole, off season and understanding, what he does well, where he struggles, how do you, and then on top of that, the Texans have had some issues up front, and he's, getting a lot of pressure and he's taking a lot of hits. And so it's one thing to have one good year. To stack good years is much more difficult. And I still think C.J. Stroud's a good player. And
Me
he's
too.
Going to be a good quarterback.
Me too.
He's going to be a good quarterback in this league. But like everyone, we get so we jump the gun, all of us on players sometimes. It's like, hey, let's let this play out a little bit. Let's see the body of work,
right?
And let's see if they can repeat it year after year, game after game. First of all, and right now, the Texans they're an okay team. They're leading the division. The division's not very strong this year, but they're not world beaters. I mean, they're coming in next week. Now, the big question for us coming next week is Trevor going to play or not?
Right.
Because if Trevor's out there, then you have a chance to beat him in Houston on the road.
Mm-hmm.
I like our chances.
Will Levis was sacked 8 times yesterday, and he outplayed C.J. Stroud, and that surprised me. And I'm not saying he's better and he's going to be better, but I mean, C.J. Stroud had a passer rating yesterday 78.70 through 2 picks. Will Levis hit big plays, had a passer rating of 123.3, averaged 11 yards an attempt. So
and this is where everyone's looking.
That's just one game. I'm not saying Levis is him. I'm just saying.
No. I'm not saying that at all, Jeff. What I'm saying is, I'm going to the bigger point. Is now I'm taking from the Jaguars' perspective. Everyone's looked at these last 6 games and say, these are all winnable games, especially past Houston. And I'm like, well, hold on now. Like every week in the NFL, we see a team like that. Everyone thought the Titans were terrible. And they go beat the division leader, Texans. We have the Carolina Panthers who took the Chiefs to the end of the game.
We are the terrible team, easy win. We are the team. Whenever you're looking at a game,
yeah.
But it can go both ways. My point is, everyone says, "Oh, the Texans are coming. We have no chance." Well, wait a second. I think Trevor Lawrence is out there. Let's see how this thing plays out. But each week. And this is why the NFL is so great. And it's funny, college football is actually getting like this a little bit. I don't know if it's a 12-team playoff or it's just an odd year.
Right.
But nobody's safe.
Right.
Nobody's safe.
I was thinking about that, Tony. It doesn't seem like, because you were there Saturday, and I mean, home field advantage matters in college football, though. I mean, home field matters. I mean, watching Florida at home the last 2 weeks, watching Oklahoma on a Saturday night against Alabama.
Yeah.
I mean, those. I mean, it is deafening loud in there. It's that's one thing that's in the NFL. Like, the Niner fans were all over Carolina. The Eagles fans were all in LA last night. I mean, it just depends on where the game is and how it's played and what your records are versus college football, where they give them you get a little tiny area of fans from the opposition.
Well, I think it all depends on the status of the team and the franchise in the market. Mm-hmm. Because you're right. I mean, I've played in college, and I remember like Washington when they were, I played against those teams when they were winning national titles, and you couldn't hear yourself think.
Right.
I remember sitting on the sidelines and trying to talk to the guy next to me, and I'm like, oh no, I got to go out there and play in this. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's you have to focus more, you have to communicate better. It's an advantage.
Yeah.
And there's markets like that in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, Denver was always like that. Yeah,
Denver's like that. Buffalo is one of those places. Detroit is now one of those places.
Yeah, for sure.
And Detroit's a great example. Detroit didn't used to be that place. You didn't really worry about going to Detroit and worrying about, a ravaged fan base.
Right.
But there's huge advantages when you play at home and your crowd is there behind it. And that's one of the things we have to get to here.
Right.
And I'm not putting it on the fans because right now
you got to give us something to
like, wait a second.
The fans have given the advantage. They've not taken advantage of it. The fans have been there all the way, even all the way up to the Minnesota game last.
Let's wrap with this. I heard you last week, and talking about Trevor and what's best for the organization, what's best for Trevor Lawrence. I get all that. What's your gut tell you, though? I mean, do you think he's going to play, or do you think what do you think is? Like, we don't know the severity of the injury. We don't know. Like, I tell you, the Jags do a good job of not letting things leak out, because I don't know if anyone knows really what's going on there. You may and may not be able to say, but what's your gut tell you?
Yeah, it's tight lips, Dan. I don't know.
Yeah. And
so I don't and I don't even have a gut feeling because I have no idea the severity of the injury, and I stand by.
Yeah.
If it's to the point where it's severe enough where he's going to need some sort of surgery, or there's greater risk of needing that surgery, I would do it now, because you don't want to have him fight through, maybe injure it worse or whatever, and then have to do surgery come January, and he misses a large part of the of the offseason.
Okay.
But this is a decision that needs to be made with everyone involved: the ownership, the GM, the coach, Trevor's people, the doctors, and sit down and say, okay. Because ultimately, what's best for Trevor is best for the organization right now.
You also don't know what they would have done against Detroit. Like, you couldn't play Minnesota, right? And then we all know, I know you're not making any admission, but yeah, we got the bye week coming up. We'll give him one more week. Does that mean that he could be like super healthy, almost feel perfect to know, you don't know. I think
Don't know.
And if it needed surgery, though, we've talked to Doc now 2 weeks, two or three times since this happened. He most likely would have had surgery already. What would you be waiting around for?
Right.
Yeah, but there are injuries.
No. My point is, you would know if it was an injury that was going to require surgery, you would know that already. So it wouldn't do any good.
That's
just
right,
to
but
linger
you still
week to
can
week.
play. You can still play.
Yeah, and he should. I think he should. I think he should play. It's professional football. It's a pain tolerance issue. Go get better. We need to get better. We're not a finished product. Give me 6 games. 6 games, Tony. That's a lot of games.
But Jeff, this is where I disagree with you. You're 2-9. You're 2-9.
Okay.
And not every guy, a lot of guys have played in this league needing surgery, and you fight through it. I mean, I needed ankle surgery after this and knew it with 3 or 4 weeks to go. And you play through it because, it is what it is, and you're in a playoff run and whatever. But the question you have to ask yourself, you just invested $250 million in this guy. He's going to be your franchise quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And if he needs a surgery, no matter what, yes, he probably could play through it, which you probably would if you were 9-2 or 8-3 or 7-4. But at 2-9,
well, we got to get on the same page here. If he needs surgery, have surgery. I wouldn't play him. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if he doesn't need surgery right now, then play.
That's right.
There's absolutely. And
I guess where I'm disagreeing with you.
And I guess it should be viewed harshly if you don't. That's the way I feel about it. Okay.
This is where I disagree with you.
All right.
Is just because he hasn't had surgery yet doesn't mean he doesn't need it.
I'm going by Doc Murphy on these things, Tony. These aren't my opinions, so I'm just kind of sharing what we've asked and what he's told us.
In fairness, Doc Murphy
doesn't know too. Yeah. He is also. He also said don't know exactly what it is. So
the only thing I know,
your point is the same as his, I guess, but it has been made.
The only thing I know about the situation is what I've heard. Is Trevor wants to play. This is not a question about.
Then you know what? That's enough for me. To be honest,
this is not a toughness issue. Trevor Lawrence is a tough dude. He proved that last year. He's proved it multiple times. He wants to play. He wants to compete. I completely disagree with all the things I've seen on X and out there.
Yeah, I'm not saying any of that.
No, I'm not. I'm not saying you are.
Yeah.
Of questioning that man's toughness. That is not fair because it is not true. What they're going to do and the severity of the injury, I have actually no idea. I've heard 50 ranges of opinions of what people think. I don't know what's the truth because I've not heard it from Trevor or the organization. My only point is you have to look at this long term. Because of the situation you're in at 2-9 with all the questions in the building and everything going on, and this is why I think ownership should be a part of this decision. What's best for the organization is the first question. And in this case, what's best for Trevor Lawrence because he is our franchise quarterback for the near future.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, and hopefully we get some answers one way or the other starting on Wednesday.
Well, we're going to have an idea, guys, Wednesday when they put the injury report out.
Right.
Of what is, did he participate? Was he, my guess is he'll be in some limited fashion is my guess. Because at least if you do that, it kind of pushes it out, the decision a little bit further.
Right.
But we'll find out this week.
I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll find out here in 20 minutes. I'm going to call my golf spies and see if our boys golfed at all in the last 7 days. Then we'll know.
That's what great reporters.
That's what we do.
Great
What's the sources,
yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
He
said he's
got
got
to your sources.
Hey, he probably feels good. I heard he was playing golf this weekend. That's how the game plays.
All right, my man.
Which is not true, by the way. I have to confirm those suspicions.
Yeah, I was like, be careful.
Yeah.
Be careful saying something.
I understand.
Now the Googans are going to be on X saying Trevor was playing golf.
No, they're smarter than that. They heard the if part, I think. Anyway, Tony, you have a great week. We'll see you on. Okay, no, go ahead. No,
that's okay. I don't want to question the IQ of the
Probably
Googans. I don't want to do that.
I don't
want to do that.
Lest you become the target.